Well, we have a great show today, and I'm just really excited to present Miss Denise Whalen White. She is the founder and executive director of the nonprofit organization All Shades of Pink Incorporated. Now, if I know you can't see this, but if you could be in the studio today and see this beautiful woman dressed in all pink. I mean, not just any kind of pink.
A beautiful pink.
A beautiful pink outfit is just astonishing. Her passion is to help families and friends and families in combating the day-to-day concerns that undergo in their journey with breast cancer. She's also an advocate of understanding the seriousness of breast cancer and how it as a disease does not always mean a loss of life. Welcome to the show today, Miss White.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, Kathy.
Well, we always ask the first question, who is Miss Denise Whalen White?
You know, I get that question asked in different ways, but for the most part, I'm just like anybody else out there. I'm just a humble soul trying to make a difference in the lives of others who are in need of help. And with that, for many years, I was born right here in Washington, D.C., but my parents had roots in St. Mary's County, Maryland, so we moved down there at a young age and returned sort of like back to the family farm. Once I was 18, I was like, I need to get up out of this country as fast as I could. I went to school in Baltimore, graduating from UMBC, and then spent many years in Washington, D.C., working in the government and then in private practice with a law firm, and I was in their administrative training department. And after all of that, the law firm introduced me into doing community work, as well as my mom was also sort of like that lady growing up in the country that if there was a problem, she was out there helping somebody. But there was just a desire in me that God has given me a lot, and to whom much is given, much is required. So I try my best to share the talents that I have with others. And about 5 years ago, I felt like I need to start something to help those who are diagnosed with breast cancer. Not that I'm a survivor or that anyone in my family had went through it, but I had just met so many women over the last 20 years who would tell me of their experiences with it. And I discovered that there was this unmet need, that people who are diagnosed today, right here today, your need today is not always being met. And because of that, we wanted to do something different than our bigger organizations that are out there and just raising money to find a cure. But how do we help those today? And with that, we developed the Pink Signature Initiative, which is composed of various programs. And one of them is our Warm and Fuzzy one regarding our comfort blankets. So I have a small army of women, somewhere between 60 and 70 women.
Oh, that is an army. Yes.
Over the last 4 years, we have given over 1,400 hand-crocheted pink and white blankets to the newly diagnosed at 6 area hospitals. One of our other programs is a utility assistance fund for those who are going through chemo and radiation. You need help paying your utility bills, you can apply to us, and we step in and do what we can. Sort of like to be a little gap, to bridge the gap until other service assistance can be found. We've developed a coloring book for young children so that sometimes parents don't want to tell kids what's going on, but we believe kids can help in the recovery of the individual. And so with that, we have like just an easy read, fun to coloring book that they can use to kind of facilitate that dialogue as to what mom is going to go through. And, yes, mom may lose her hair and sometimes she's going to be tired. And dad may have to cook. And although he doesn't cook very well, you can help with that, read mom a book, those kind of things that gives them something to do in helping mom get better. And then we also do a lot of breast health education. So we've developed our own literature called Facing Our Fear, especially for the African American community because of the diversity of so many African American women are still dying from breast cancer as compared to others. And that and the gap is still rather large, even in this day and time. And some of it is that we're finding people are just afraid. They're afraid to know what's wrong with them, or afraid to find out, and we have to kind of figure out how to shift that mindset.
Yes.
All right, hold that thought. We got so many questions we want to ask you and find out about your organization, but we have to go pay some bills. But hold on, we'll be right back with you.
You're listening to Empowering Ideas, that show dedicated to making all your business dreams a reality. You are listening to
Rudy C.
and Kathy D, and we're back with another dynamic show, another week. We are here, if you just happen to tune in, with Miss Denise Whalen White, the founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization called All Shades of Pink. And she's been sharing with us what her organization does, but we're going to just go right back to that conversation. And so if you have any questions for her, call us at 301-560-6992. Again, 301-560-6992. Or you can text us at 410-499-2180. It would be a great time if you have any kind of questions as you're listening to her regarding this whole subject of breast care and breast awareness, or all of the areas that she began to talk about before the break, in terms of even family and engaging family and children in the process of someone being diagnosed with breast cancer. And so we're going to just continue to learn more about you and learn more about your organization. Tell me a little bit about, you described that when you started it, some of the thoughts and things that just drove you to want to do it. But if we think about your organization, and there's so many that are dedicated to this subject, what is it that makes your organization different?
Well, I know that the uniqueness of our organization is that we truly primarily focus on those who are diagnosed today with breast cancer. We want to address your day-to-day needs. We want to be able to grow to a point that maybe we can provide direct services to a wide variety of areas. But right now we focus mainly on utility assistance because we want everyone to have a home environment that's healthy. And it can't be healthy if you don't have heat, if you don't have electricity, if you don't have water. And these services get cut off rather quickly nowadays if you're not able to keep up with the payments and what have you. And when you're having to deal with added medical expenses, for a lot of women, they have to make hard choices as to how they're going to take the money they have and spread it across all the areas now that they have these additional medical expenses. One thing I learned after getting into this, when we all start out, we just want to do something, we want to help. But I didn't realize that when you talk about medical expenses, each time you go for a chemotherapy session or radiation treatment, there's a copay associated with that. So I always thought that if you had insurance, your insurance took care of everything. But no, sometimes people may have these $50 charges that are associated. So if you have to have 40 treatments of radiation, you multiply that by $50 and you're already living check to check. Where do you come up with the added expenses? So if you have to pay on your medical bill, but your kids need food, you have to pay the electric bill because we're having 30 days of 100-degree temperatures and you need the air to run. I mean, who's going to feel better if you've just come from a treatment, you're feeling down and low and no air conditioning, and it's hotter in the house than it is outdoors? Or, the wintertime not having the proper heat or using alternative methods that may put your family at risk. So a lot of the women, through the hospitals that we're associated with and affiliated with, they're referred to us for assistance through their social services department. And so they come to us, and we have a panel that reviews their applications, and then we just determine, can we help this individual? And if so, we will generally pay the current bill that's due, and possibly even a little more. We usually assist up to about $500 per family. And that may not be a lot, but at least it will help them for a little while, give them a little breathing space. And then we will look around to see, are there other agencies like some of the county agencies or other nonprofits like...
so you will also continue that support search for them?
Yes, I belong to a conglomerate of nonprofits right now called the Community Nonprofit Network over in Capitol Heights. There's about 7 or 8 of us just housed in this one building, so that we look at ourselves as a one-stop shop, that you could come in and you may be in need of my services. But a lot of people have secondary issues going on too.
Right.
So you may find that, oh, they also need some food. Well, the Labor of Love group right next door can provide food.
Okay.
Their kids, they may need some clothing at this time. They can get that. Maybe there's someone also in their family who needs some assistance with drug abuse or something other. That's there too. So while they're there, trying to seek assistance from us, we give them information on all the other services that are also there. We have a young lady who deals with children, particularly young adults who are dealing with disabilities, and so she helps them, advocates for them, and what have you. So we all got connected 2 years ago when we all took a class to become better nonprofits in Prince George's County through the Human Services Coalition of Prince George's. And from that, we looked at each other. There were 16 of us, but several of us looked at each other and say, we need to kind of work together. And life is all about collaboration now.
It
you
is.
really can't, do things independently.
Right.
And so although this group that I belong to, we're doing a lot of each of us does something different. I'm also been working with other nonprofits in the area that also deal with breast cancer, like the Breast Health Inc. and then the African Women's Cancer Awareness Group, which focuses a lot on the African women, because culturally they go through different
Very
needs.
different.
And then just 2 weeks ago, I received an award from the DreamWorks Cancer Foundation, which is a new breast cancer foundation, and they help with helping to pay the medical expenses for mammograms or if you have a diagnosis or your medicines and stuff. So Charles Dean from that group, he and I have been talking about how we should be able to kind of refer individuals from one group to another, because he's addressing the earlier stages of just the medical end of it, and I'm looking at the sort of like human needs side on the day-to-day side of things. So there's no reason why, although we may be different, there are also things we can kind of do together with each other.
I have a question, Denise. And you're handing out the blankets and the pink blankets and things, and you're personally touching people and within the community. Of the people that you are touching that have been diagnosed with breast cancer, what percentage are men?
Well, that normally the national percentage is 2%. Now, of the 1,400 that we've personally, and I have to say it's almost indirectly, because when we give our blankets, they go to the hospitals, and then the hospitals give them to their patients. So technically, we never meet anybody directly, but eventually we will hear from them, because a woman once wrote to me and she said, "You knew my need before I even knew what I needed." And she says, "I love my blanket. It goes everywhere with me, and I let no one else touch it." But of the 1,400 that we have dealt with the blankets, we've given away about 7 blankets to men. And so I don't give them pink and white ones. We usually make them purple or deep kind of ruby color, so that it's something a little more manly that they can deal with. But a gentleman at one of the doctor's offices, and he knew about us, and he says, "This organization that this doctor's office keeps a little can to collect from, they give away blankets, but I didn't get a blanket." And so the nurse told me about it. We ran right on up there and gave him a blanket. And he was he was just so thrilled, because he wanted his blanket too.
Yes.
And I have no problem with that, because a lot of the blankets that are given to us are done by churches, and so they're blessed before they even get to us. So there's a healing already anointed on the blankets that they get. We don't promote that like that, but people are being taken care of even if they don't know it, so the power of God is there already.
How do you fundraise for your organization? Where do you get the cash?
Well, we get the cash through activities. Like, we have an annual award dinner coming up this April, on April 19th at the Newton White Mansion. We also have the Buddy Breakfast that'll be at the Newton White Mansion in July. We have a 2K walk that's held at the Mall of Prince George's in October. We have a little thing called Change for Breast Cancer, where we encourage everyone to just collect loose change and turn it into us. And then we just get from a lot of donors and businesses. And since breast cancer affects just about everyone, everyone knows someone who's gone through breast cancer. Depending on when you meet them, at times they'll go, my aunt went through that, my cousin went through that, my coworker went through it. Let me just write you a check. I mean, God has blessed us like that. So I would say about 30% of our funding just comes from donors. So yes, we do get some grants. Not that I don't want grants, but sometimes with federal grants or governmental grants, there's a lot of restrictions placed on them. And we want to be a little more open to be able to help anyone who needs our help. And so that doesn't mean you have to be so poor in order to qualify. That sometimes people just need a little helping hand. And that's why I say with the pink, we're people in need of kindness.
I love it. People in need of kindness.
You know,
Pink. Like that.
And our new slogan is, we're trying to take the stress out of breast cancer, because with any medical illness that you have, there's the emotional, physical, and financial stresses that a person may go through. So we try to deal with that. So the blankets address the emotional end of it, and somewhat the physical. The financial assistance addresses the financial part. And then later this year, we hope to be launching an exercise program to encourage women to develop a daily exercise routine and eating properly, because your immune system goes through such a transformation with chemotherapy and radiation. So that program is going to be called Fit for Exercise ×2, where we hope for them to be able to take a buddy with them and exercise, because you need somebody to encourage you along the way.
Absolutely.
All right, can you hold those thoughts, guys? We'll be right back after this commercial break.
You're listening to Empowering Ideas, that show dedicated to making all your business dreams a reality. It is now 20 minutes before the hour, and you're listening to
Rudy C.
and Kathy D. And we're back with another dynamic show for you, jam-packed with information.
Yes.
And we are so honored today that we have our guest in the studio with us, Ms. Denise Whalen White, founder and executive director of the nonprofit All Shades of Pink Incorporated. And she's been just over the past segments today taking us through what is the purpose and mission of All Shades of Pink, and just her dedication to her and her organization's dedication to breast cancer. But the unique nature she shared with us is this aspect of being in the moment, supporting individuals. So if you're listening and you're one of those individuals, you would really want to listen in to get the information to contact being an individual who is currently diagnosed and who is in need of either emotional, she said spiritual, also any kind of financial support in the area of utilities. So they have really distinguished themselves by being able to kind of zoom in and be an immediate relief to individuals in this area, among other things like their wonderful blankets that they make that she talked about, that is given to individuals, and the relationship of that. But I want to come back to, and if anybody again has a question, call us at 301-560-6992, 301-560-6992, or you can text me at 410-499-2180. And Rudy, they can email where?
At empoweringideas@verizon.net. empoweringideas@verizon.net.
Great. Well, we want to just kind of pick up where we left off, and I understand that there's an award coming your way this weekend, and so
yes, tell us about that.
Tell us a little bit about how that came about and what's going on there.
You know, God is just blessing me and the organization. It seems like in the last few months there have been quite a few awards that are coming, but the most recent one will be this Saturday at the National Association Negro Professional Business and Professional Women's Club. The Millennium Seat Pleasant Club is hosting their yearly Women's History Luncheon, and I will be receiving their Special Recognition Award as an associate member to the organization. They said to me, normally associates don't do anything but pay their fee. and that's it. She says, but Denise, you have just like stepped up and done a lot. We collaborated this winter at Christmas, where they helped All Shades of Pink in our gift wrapping efforts, and from that we were able to share the proceeds that we raised, and we raised close to $2,500 for that effort, and they got half of that. They are managing actually a scholarship that All Shades of Pink is launching this year, but being small in capacity, not having a lot of the personnel, they were already doing a scholarship effort over the last several years, and I asked them to manage our scholarship for us. So there will be a $1,000 scholarship coming through that organization to some lucky youth this spring to go to college. And
now, if someone is applying for that scholarship, does that mean that they've been diagnosed or someone in their family, or is it totally unrelated?
This one is just totally for educational purposes. Now, next year we may put a stipulation that they have to be going, undergoing, like, considering going into the sciences to do it. But this year we just decided that would just be an educational
wonderful
scholarship.
Wonderful. Actually, very, very nice. So how long have you been affiliated with that organization?
3 years. 3 years, you know, and they're Mid-Atlantic District. You know how organizations, they have local and then they go district and regional. Well, last spring, their Mid-Atlantic District awarded me an honor for special achievements for what I have been doing in the community. And then, like I said, with Charles Dean and the DreamWorks Foundation, just 2 weeks ago, I received their Unsung Love Award, Unsung Hero Love Award, and that was a beautiful crystal heart-shaped award that they gave me. And so the Southern Prince George's County Business and Professional Women honored me as the Woman of the Year last October.
Congratulations.
I mean, so there's been a lot of things happening.
So the love is coming back.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is. You know, but I just think as long as we give of ourselves, you know, you don't look for awards, and it's fine when people recognize you for what you're doing, but many of us who are in the nonprofit arena, we just do it because we have that calling to do it, or we just have a love to help others, and that's what it's all about. I mean, God asked us to love one another and to care for each other, so that's what we're trying to do.
That is fantastic. You know? I know that during our break, we were having a little conversation, and so I want to have you be able to talk to our group. In order to do this, you've mentioned that you've recently stepped away from your full-time position, and I know that our listener line should be full. Now we should start getting some calls at 301-560-6992. And the reason why I say that is because so many times I'm a life coach, and I work with individuals about making life transitions and having what they want in their lives. And the big question comes up. They say, I'm almost there. I really am passionate about what I do. I want to make sure that I make a difference. I'm doing it kind of part-time, but I'm not quite there to take that step out. So as you made that decision, what really prompted you to know this was right at this particular time?
You know, a lot of times it just comes from prayer and listening for the little word, okay? When I even launched a nonprofit, there were those who told me, oh, you don't want to do that. Go find another organization that's already doing something similar and put your heart and energy into that. And I did for a while, but it wasn't still fully satisfying to me, because when God wants you to do something, you got to be obedient. And so one day when I was at the job, I heard the word now, and I knew exactly what now meant. I launched a nonprofit, you know, went online, registered the organization, started to get the paperwork. Right then, started to get the paperwork for the 501c3. You know, you got to get that. I submitted it 2 months later and got the designation within 2 months. I mean, and people told me
you were really
that within 6 months we had everything we needed, and we were just moving on. I continued to work at the law firm for 2 more years, doing a lot at night, you know, running around all weekend long. And finally, I just sat down and said to my husband, I said, and my son, I said, listen, I know that God wants me to do this. It's just that when God wants you to do things, things come easily to you. You don't have to work that hard for it, because He orders everything. So with that, the family understood, and since we're all church-going folks, you know, they were like, Mom, it's going to be hard, you know, because, you know, you bring in half the income. But we trusted, and here we are 2.5 years later, and we haven't lost anything. If anything, we've gained a lot. And so, and with that, when I left and started this full time, within about 8 months, I was able to have office space. So that's where I got the office space over in Capitol Heights through the Community Nonprofit Network. Funding comes into us. When you were asking about that, there are days we go to the mailbox and there are checks in there that we had no idea where they were coming from, and there's been a couple of grants that actually came to us because people said, we heard about what you're doing, we want to fund you, just fill in send us the proposal of what you're doing, and we will, but it was like the money was already cleared. All we had to do was go
just
through
fill
the
out the paperwork.
formality.
Wow.
Praise God.
So we went from a less than $5,000 budget in 2007 to now over $210,000 per year. God is good.
So as you just said, for anybody listening, I mean, some key words you said were you listened, prayed on it, and then now you moved on it. The reason why I said that, some people say, I heard now. Yeah. But I still went back to the job and I still continued because I was afraid.
Right.
But you said that's the moment.
That's the moment.
And they missed out on the blessing.
Yeah. Yes. We so often pray for what we want. And then when God presents it to us, we miss it because it didn't come the way we expected it to come. And so for that, I always say I try to stay out of God's way. I just try to be open to it. And when things are a little difficult, I go, okay, that's not meant for us right now. So let me just put that aside and not to worry about it, because something else is going to come along and take the space of that. So it's all good.
That is wonderful. I mean, it's truly, I hope that in our listeners to hear, someone felt just touched and inspired a little around. So many have it, as we would say, to birth, to give birth to it fully. And it's that walking on the line there about that. And so just praying and listening and then acting.
Right. And Kathy, I just want to say it's not easy to launch a nonprofit, and you do have to do your research, you do have to do your homework, and you have to continue to study and learn. Because so often we start out, because when you're the founder, you have the passion to want to do, but you have to surround yourself by others who know how to do it as a business, because it is a business.
It's right. It's a business
and
model.
There are lots of requirements. There are lots of rules and things that you have to apply for, and to not do those things can put your nonprofit at risk. So you have to really, that answer about, well, I didn't know, that doesn't
work. It does not work. Absolutely. And so it is. I mean, as you switch it to that very point, as you talk about it being a business, what did you observe most about moving into it as a business mindset? What were those areas that you became most aware of?
Well, I know, starting off and having worked in the law firm and what have you, that we needed to have good record keeping. So you have to have, you can work with the spreadsheets, but go ahead and get yourself like a QuickBooks or something, a financial
QuickBooks Pro.
A financial program. Then you have to understand there are state requirements, like the fundraising notice. You just can't go out and just fundraise. Just to fundraise, you have to notify the state of what your activities are, because they have to provide you with a certificate that it's okay. A woman shared with me how her event got closed down because she hadn't applied for the state funding notice, and you don't want that to happen. You have to get insurances. A lot of people put that off, but these are the expenses you have to spend in order to do business, but you don't want to be sued by anything you're doing.
As a matter of fact, Kathy, it's like it's a business plan. That's what I think.
It is.
Yes, absolutely.
It is. So you can have the heart, but you still have to be surrounded by those. If you don't know how to do the business, get some people around you that know about the business, and then go to classes. There are classes offered all across the county and state on how to manage nonprofits, and the Human Services Coalition is a good one.
There are about 20,000 non-for-profits in the DMV area.
Okay.
And if you were to walk down the street and look at the buildings, I mean, some of these non-for-profits have buildings like $1 million buildings.
Right.
You say, well, how did a non-for-profit get to that point? Well, but you have to run it like a business. And yes, you can give yourself a salary. Yes, you can have staff. But the business model is a little different than the for-profit model, and you can't get them mixed up, because if you do, you will go to jail.
That's right.
I always tell people, you don't make money. You don't get rich necessarily from a nonprofit.
Yeah, but you can have a salary, though.
You can have a salary, but that which you have left over, quote, at the end of the year, you have to roll back into the business. Into the services that you're providing, into the programs. You don't go around saying, oh, we have 20,000 left, so let's give us all, extra bonuses.
No.
It doesn't
No.
work that way.
No.
You know,
No.
it doesn't work that way.
Wonderful.
Yeah, there are administrative costs you can incur
Yes.
with regard to that. But yeah, you have to give the money, turn it back over for the next year. But a non-for-profit model is an excellent model. It's what I call social entrepreneurship,
Yes.
faith-based social entrepreneurship organization. So,
Well, we would definitely want to spend some time talking about your event you have coming up.
Okay.
And talk for a moment about that, because it's right around the corner. We want to make sure we fill the doors and fill that event through this particular show.
Yes.
And so talk for a minute about I believe it's a Celebrate Pink Sunday is coming up.
Right. Well, October is always considered Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but All Shades of Pink has decided that breast cancer takes no holidays or vacations. It can happen to anyone at any time of the year. So therefore, we elected that March being Women's History Month as well, that on the fourth Sunday of the month, we would like for churches to join us in spirit and celebrate Pink Sunday by hosting a sort of like recognition of their breast cancer survivors within their own church community, inviting their membership to dress in pink, honor the survivors, and then if the church has moved so to maybe take a small free will collection to send to us as a way to help us support our ministry. So that'll be on March the 25th this year. And I'm doing it at my church down in St. Mary's County. Yes, I travel 60 miles 2 or 3 times a week to go to church down there,
Wow.
But it's a wonderful church, Mount Calvary United Methodist, and it's a church on the move, and it's growing. And then we have our next event is our award dinner, which is coming up on April 19th at the Newton White Mansion. This year we're honoring Dr. Regina Hampton, a local breast cancer surgeon, well known. She's just like one of those women doing a lot, but her patients love her to death. She was on our board for a few years, and she was very helpful to us, especially in our getting started, to have someone of her caliber join us. And then we're also recognizing the founder of the African Women's Cancer Awareness Association, Miss Effie Nambuku, and she has done wonders with just the African women here in the United States and even the work that she's doing abroad. So we want to encourage her too, because she's a small nonprofit, and she and I have spoken many times about looking at each other saying, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? But we're so moved to want to help others that we continue to do. And so with that, we thought that this year we would recognize those two individuals as our recipients of the award. The event is from 5:30 to 9. It starts off with a silent auction. We're even having Dr. Randall Pinkett. He's going to give us words of welcome. He was scheduled to be in attendance, but something has come up where he won't physically be there, but we'll be airing a presentation that he's done for us at the dinner. Okay, and he was the first of the, oh gosh, I keep always forgetting. He was the winner of the Donald Trump's event. So he's a very wonderful, wonderful man, and he has done great things in his own business, and he too is very community minded and what have you. So we're looking forward to it.
So how would people get tickets to this event? Or
all you have to do is go online. Everything is online nowadays. If you visit our website at www.asopinc.org. So that's ASOP for All Shades of Pink, inc.org, and click on the award dinner. Just follow the prompts to register, and you can buy your tickets online as well. Okay?
And the date again?
The date is Thursday, April the 19th at the Newton White Mansion.
Wonderful.
Now, just tell us how other organizations that do breast cancer team up with your organization to build alliances for your events. I see that you're in the sorority, the AKs, and they wear pink as well.
They do, and they've been very supportive as sorors. The funny thing about that, I pledged years ago and became an AKA, and then I kind of put it aside when I was dealing with children and everything else. And then once I launched a nonprofit, I was meeting a lot of women, and they enjoyed hearing what we were doing and wanted to be supportive. And then I was invited actually to an AKA meeting to share about what All Shades of Pink is, and I mentioned that, oh yeah, I pledged years ago at UMBC, and they were like, oh my gosh, you're a soror. And from that, I looked around, and some of the same women that I had already met a year ago who have been instrumental in helping All Shades of Pink were right there in that chapter, and I was like, see, this is God ordained, you know. I mean, they were
throw the password on them or something.
They were supporting me long before they even knew I was a soror, and so that made it even more special, because then I knew that the cause I was leading was one that they felt had value to it, and it wasn't just because I was a soror or anything like that. But there are lots of organizations, lots of churches that support us by either taking ads out in our program book, becoming a sponsor, to, if not the dinner, there's always the buddy breakfast coming up in July. They can...
what is a buddy breakfast?
The buddy breakfast is sort of like just a morning breakfast that we're having, and a lot of times the survivors will bring, like, a mother will bring her daughter or a sister, or just two friends will come, and we will share the importance of, that's more of an educational one, where we share the importance of breast cancer and why it's so important in the Black community with the triple negative tumors that a lot of Black African American women may have if they're diagnosed with breast cancer, which may be a factor in why more Black women die from the disease than white women. But also that it's a way to celebrate our survivors. We do a special, we have a hat show, you know, because I love to strut a Sunday hat, you know? And it's just a fun time for about 2 hours in the morning, and that too will be, I believe it's July 13th on a Thursday at the Newton White Mansion, but information will be on our website and forthcoming. But I believe that we all can work together. Like I said, I'm working with the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women, either in the helping of the fundraising, because I believe as we prosper, so can others, you know.
What about the youth? Have you made any connection with the young adults regarding breast cancer? Are they involved in your community effort?
Well, what will happen with youth, we've been invited out to some like mentoring groups, and we speak to young women, because as soon as you start to have breasts, you're now subject to breast cancer. I have a mother, I met a mother just about 2 weeks ago, and she said, you know, my 14-year-old daughter was diagnosed with breast cancer. Now that is like unheard of, but we are hearing about women younger and younger being diagnosed. I met a young woman who was 22, and she had had a mastectomy, and I'm like, that is just like too young to lose a breast, you know? So it's there's a seriousness here, particularly in Prince George's County, where our mortality rate is way above the state and national averages. The Coleman Foundation is looking at wards 7 and 8 in Prince George's County, because the numbers have kind of remained the same. You know, you would think after a lot of education over 20 years that more and more women would be getting their mammograms or going to the doctors, and still the mortality rate is over the 30%. You know, it's like 32 point something.
There's still an access to medical care issue, which President Barack Obama is trying to address with this Obamacare, as they say.
But beyond that, it's also women. When I meet women and they tell me their grandmothers had breast cancer, and I'm like, so you're doing your mammograms, you're doing checks, and they'll go, well, no, I know I should, but I just can't deal with it. I think I prefer not to know. And it's sort of like a, catch-22. Well, not knowing means that when you finally do find out, it's going to be at a late stage, and your chances, are reduced. Where if you be proactive, we want people to be proactive. And I'm like, you have to know your body. You have to know when there's a change. And when there is a change, tell somebody. And if you don't have the means to go to the doctors to do what you need to do, then contact me, and I will do what I can to get you to the doctor. You know? If it's a matter you're afraid to go, well, contact me, and I will see what I can do to go with you to that appointment, because I don't want to lose another sister to breast cancer. You know, in my perfect world, like I said, breast cancer would be like having a cold. No stress, you know, that it's something that you're going to go through and come out of very quickly. And that's where I'd like for all of us to get.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, you want to talk a little bit about your website?
Yes, our website is, on our website, I love the way it looks now. We had it modernized a year ago.
It's very nice.
And what is your website?
Our website is www.asopinc.org. And if you can't remember all of that and you remember the name All Shades of Pink, you can put in www.allshadesofpink.org and it'll take you there as well. Yeah. You can follow us on Facebook as also. I haven't done the Twitter yet, but we are on Facebook.
Get your kids to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get the kids to do that. But the website will give you information on the programs that we offer. It'll give you links to other nonprofits. It will just it'll show you the activities we've been involved in. And with the Celebrate Pink Sunday, we're asking churches to take pictures of how they honor their breast cancer survivors and send them to us. And we hope to have a whole page of pictures of just how people are honoring those who we call our pink champions, you know, that have because they need. You need heroes. You need folks to let the young people know that breast cancer is not a death sentence. Look at this woman. She's 20-year survivor. She's a 7-year survivor. And we need more of our African-American women of color to make it past the 5-year threshold.
Well, we want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be on our show today. And you truly represent the expression to whom much is given, much is expected. And we thank you for giving back to our community when you really didn't have to, when you're not really afflicted with the disease, but yet somehow you listened to what God told you to do, and you move forward, and now others are being blessed, and others, and you're serving and what God would have you to do. So we thank you for that. As you close out one last time, you got a couple events coming up, 1 minute or less. What are they now?
Celebrate Pink Sunday on March the 25th at your own local church, and then our Pink Award Dinner and Silent Auction on April the 19th at the Newton White Mansion.
All right. People want to contact you. How would they contact you? You got a number or email address?
Our number is 301-356-4688, or you can email info@asopinc.org.
And your number again is what now?
301